Hello, and welcome to my channel. Today we're continuing our commissioning painting of the Emperor. We completed Sanguinius last episode, so today we're going to continue with more gold. The model has lots of fine detail that we hope to capture with some dry brushing and some other techniques. But we're going to start with some Slaughterer Red for the cape and the loincloth. As I said previously, we're mostly using contrast paints, or in this case Army Painter Speed Paint, so just use extra care in being careful where you place the paint. There's some details on the back of the cloak that I want to keep as the primer, so just taking extra care here. And that's the red completed for now. I have to come back with the red for the weapons and whatnot, but we'll get to that later. Now for some of the details in the armor. I didn't want it all the same gold, so I'm starting with glittering loot for the chainmail. Just trying to keep neat here. With that step completed, we can move on to the bulk of the armor. I'm going for a darker gold for the Emperor's main armor. And using the aptly named Golden Armor. This will be the bulk of the armor, so using a larger brush is probably warranted. At this stage we just have to be neat around where our previous paint was, but other than that, we can pretty much just go ham. There's plenty of detail in this model that we will capture with some dry brushing. And here's the model with that golden armor applied. Also use some greedy gold for the details in the back of the cape. Now to add a wash to all of that gold. I'm using Strong Tone from Army Painter. It seems to cover pretty well, as I found out painting Sanguinius. There's a lot of model to cover, so a large shade brush is perfect for this. Just go over the model, make sure it doesn't pool in any places you don't want it to, but at this stage it's pretty bulletproof just to completely cover this model in the Strong Tone. Also doing the red of the loincloth and the red of the cloak, and the gold on the back of the cloak as well. And here's the model after we completed the wash. It's dark right now, but we will brighten that up in the next steps. Starting with greedy gold for the metallics on the back of the cloak and the chainmail. As you can see, there's a lot of detail we want to pick up with this gold. So using a dry brush, just going over, picking out all those details, brighten them up a fair bit. Make sure to stay neat here. You don't want to get any excess gold onto the red cloak. That's the bright gold completed. We'll move on to the darker gold, but here's how the cloak turned out. I did the trim as well with that greedy gold, and I think it turned out pretty nice. For the rest of the armor, I'm going to dry brush it with Retributor Armor to keep that kind of dark tone going with the Emperor. Coming in with a dry brush and just lightly going over all that detail with the Retributor Armor brings that shine back and makes that detail pop a bit more. Just have to be careful of all the paints that we put on previously. We don't want to get excess dry brushing on it, but take your time and go nuts. And here's the model after dry brushing that Retributor's armor. You can see how it shines a fair bit more now and has a bit more of a presence to it. After that stage, I cleaned up where I got some of the overbrushing on with some Wraithbone primer and fix up any mistakes from the previous steps. Next up, I was going to start painting the ropes across the armor, and I mixed about 1 part Familiar Pink with 1 part Slaughterer Red to get the effect that I wanted. With fine details like this, it pays to be really careful and really neat. You don't want to have to go back and redo some of that gold, but no big deal if you do. I think just using some of the Retributor armor at this stage would cover it nicely. And here's the model once I've completed those ropes. I think it turned out pretty nice. Now on to Holy White to do some of the detail of the fur in the back of the cloak. There's a fair bit of fur in the back of the model, and we're also going to detail that with some black dots to make that regal kind of look for the Emperor. The Holy White is more of a gray, but I think that adds to the kind of patina of the Emperor's uniform here. Here's the model with that white completed. It's not much of a change, it's pretty subtle, but I think it looks pretty good. Next up, we're going to base the weapons with Slaughterer Red. We're not going to do the flame detail yet, so try and be neat not to get any of the Slaughterer Red onto the flames, but we're just going to do the blade and the claws for now. Starting with the blade, just being careful to avoid those flames, because we're going to paint those in the next following steps. And the claws, just get a nice base coat on them. Here's the model with the weapons all base coated. Looks pretty good for now, but we're going to step it up a little bit with some black just to add some depth to the weapons. And here's matte black that we're going to use to paint in the middle part of the weapons. And while we have it out on our palette, we're also going to put in those dots on the back of the cloak there. Give that regal effect on the fur. So using a smaller dry brush and just kind of using a stippling effect, just kind of get the middle of the claws and the middle of the blade of the sword, just to kind of add that depth, that kind of dark glow to the weapons. And here's the weapons after that stippling effect. At a later step, we're going to add a wash to kind of blend the colors together a little bit better. And now onto the flame effect onto the sword. We're going to start out with some contrast paints, Zealot Yellow, Nuclear Sunrise, and then Bright Red to finish it off. Later steps, we're going to add some acrylics and some washes to it just to make the flames pop just a little bit better. Starting off with that Zealot Yellow, just trying to be nice and neat here, and just doing the bottom third of all the flames in that yellow. We're just going to break it up into thirds, so bottom third yellow, middle third orange, top third red, and I think the effect comes out pretty nice. With the yellow complete, now it's on to the orange. You can kind of do a bit of a wet blending with the contrast paints to kind of get that border between the two paints to kind of mesh better, but if it's dry, it'll still kind of have a similar effect when it's dry, but it's probably better when it's wet. And now the red, just the top third in the red, and again, a little bit of wet blending, and everything should just kind of jive together really nicely. And here's the flame effect completed with the contrast paints. Looks pretty nice, but we might as well bring it up a bit with a bit of a wash. So the wash I'm going to use is Nuln Oil, and just put that all over the sword and the claws, just to blend everything together. Particularly over the flames, we don't want it to pool too bad in the recesses, so just be nice and neat and clean. We just want a subtle effect to it. And now to brighten the flame up a bit, I got Demonic Yellow, Orange Fire, and Pure Red. And we're just going to go over the each color individually and brighten it up. Starting with the yellow here, just be nice and neat, just trying to catch the top edges of the flames. Same thing with the orange, just going through that middle third, catching the top edges, and just trying to be super neat around the borders between the colors. And then finally the red. Also with the red, I did an edge highlighting on the blade itself and the edges of the claws, just to make it really stand out a lot more. And here's the weapons completed with that edge highlighting and the flame effect. I think it came out pretty good. Now onto the Emperor's face. I'm still a little rusty with faces, but I'm sure we'll get through all right. Just being super neat here, catching all that detail with this Crusader skin. the base tone down of Crusader Skin, I'm going to Cadian Flesh Tone to highlight the face. Just trying to catch the top edges of the nose and the brow and the chin and the cheeks and all that. Nothing too complicated here, just trying to be neat and trying to maintain some of that depth. Having a camera in front of you is a bit of a challenge when you're painting. As you can see, I'm trying to look around and just catch more of that detail. I felt the skin tone was a little bit too bright, so I decided I was going to knock it down a little bit with some Agrax Earthshade. Just put a wash over the face, and then we'll bring back some of the highlights again with the Cadian Flesh Tone. A little bit of back and forth, but I think it was worth it in the end. Just making sure that it hasn't pooled too much, and make sure this dries fully before bringing the highlights back again. And here I am trying to bring those highlights back, so just the very top edges of the nose and the brow and the cheeks and the chin and all that. And then for the eyes, I decided to do a glow effect by starting with some matte white, then some glittering loot, and then a dot of matte white again for the eyes. It was a bit challenging trying to paint it with the camera in front of me, so I did it off camera, but I think the effect turned out pretty good. And then also did grim black for the hair. And here's the completed model. It turned out pretty good. There were some challenges with it for sure, some techniques I've never really tried before, and as previously stated, I'm still working on faces, but I think it turned out pretty good at the end. So thank you all very much for watching, and I have one more model for this commission series to paint, and that is Horus. So stay tuned for that. Like, comment, subscribe, all the fun YouTube stuff, and I hope to see you on the next one. Thanks a lot. Have a good one.